Have a look at this. It's the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RR, the first speed triple to feature an actual fairing.
Traitors! Absolute traitors! Everybody knows that the Speed Triple is a naked bike. It's a naked sports bike. It is the quintessential naked sport bike, according to many people. Still, as fairings go, this is quite a good one.
Apart from its fairing, it gets the traditional inline triple motor with 1160 cc's of explosion, chucking out a not insignificant 178 horsepower and 125 newton meters of torque. More so, the brakes are Brembo's Dilemma units stuck to a set of electronic forks from Öhlins, accompanied by an Öhlins rear shock. Of course, there is every kind of electronic gadget available, including my personal favorite, the two-way quick shifter, all controllable through one of Triumph's mental dash displays. And the whole thing weighs in at just 199 kilograms wet, and it'll set you back 315,000 rand.
What we have here is a Speed Triple made more racy. And very simple, the seating position is further kind of crouched forward, foot pegs are higher, it feels a little bit firmer, and the triple motor has been retuned slightly for more kind of top-end power. So it is more of a racer. It just literally is a Speed Triple made racier. You can't really discount that, can you?
All that is fine and good, but it's not really what we're here to do today. Today we're here to sort of pay respects, appreciation for a certain kind of motorcycle. A motorcycle I like to call the Connoisseur's bike. Now, take for example a BMW GS. It's a very, very popular motorcycle, and for very good reason. I mean, it's fun to ride, practical, easy, reliable, economical, comfortable, technological, and every kind of ological that you can think of. But there are other sort of bikes that don't have all of that. In fact, they got bits and pieces missing, but people still want to buy them anyway.
Here is what we mean. Take for example the Ducati Hypermotard. They don't sell it in great quantities in South Africa, and no wonder. Wind protection isn't the greatest, it has limited creature comforts, and that 937cc motor pushes a somewhat average 114 horsepower. So it is not hassling the bigger bikes on the straight bits. Essentially, it is sort of a sports commuter, one that isn't particularly economical nor practical, and at 237,000 rand, it isn't cheap either.
But here's the thing, none of that matters. The downsides don't matter, because that bike is 100% pure hooligan fun. And other people might criticize and say downsides this, that, but to the person riding it, that person is having more fun than anybody else in the world at that moment.
There's more bikes that fit the Connoisseur's bracket. A favorite of ours is the KTM Super Duke. It has all the kit and performance you could expect from a sports bike, including a ridiculous amount of torque that nobody quite knows what to do with. And yet there's no fairing for aerodynamics and comfort. No one is breaking any lap records on it. It's a bike you buy only for giggles. Lots and lots of giggles. The same sort of thing can be said about the Indian FTR 1200. Does anyone need a flat tracker for the road? No. Will it induce a smile so wide your head is in danger of falling off? Oh yes. The Triumph Scrambler 1200 lacks the fairings and other assorted aesthetics of its large capacity adventure brethren, yet will storm into any adventure with the best of them, all while giving the rider a feeling of old school Steve McQueen ruggedness. Another great motorcycle known only by those who truly know motorcycles. The list goes on. The Triumph Thruxton R, with its classic looks and classic racing stance, offers one of the most memorable rides available. The Kawasaki H2 is good old mental supercharged Kawasaki-ness. and any bike created by MV Augusta gives the rider happy fizz regardless of the size of the price tag. They are all the sort of thing the motorcycle connoisseur would enjoy, the sort of person that gets a respectful nod from anyone who knows their motorcycles. Then there is this, the Speed Triple RR.
Yeah, okay, so the racerizing of this motorcycle has caused a few problems. Believe it or not, even though it's naked, the Speed Triple is a rather comfortable motorcycle. You sit very kind of upright, your foot pegs are very low, and you kind of can get around very easily. It is very, very comfortable. This specific motorcycle is not so comfortable. The foot pegs are a lot higher up, so I'm sort of in a cramped position over here. The handlebars are a lot lower, a lot further forward, so you can actually see I'm right here. I've got my face almost in the camera over my hands. And when you first get on, you first start riding, it is a bit agonizing. I'm just wholeheartedly honest with you, it's quite agonizing. Although you do eventually start getting used to it after a while, but let's just say it's not as comfortable as the Speed Triple. And it's got a screen, it's got a fairing, and a lot of people would say, yeah, but there we go, some more wind protection. Not protection, aerodynamics. The screen is very low, very sort of bubbled, so it will give you protection, but then you have to sort of crouch down like a mini racer in order to get to it. So that's not that good.
Also, 178 horsepower is a lot, but not quite enough to keep up with some of the other bikes in the sporty class. And yet, none of that matters, because this thing is spectacular. Firstly, just look at it. It's truly gorgeous to behold, in a detail that, dare we say, only Triumph seems to be able to capture these days.
But here's the thing. The problems of this motorcycle, like being a bit more uncomfortable and whatever have you, are not deal breakers. Not for me, not for many others. And the reason for that is because when I ride this motorcycle, I feel very, very special. In fact, not even when I ride it. When I walk out into my garage and I see it parked there and I see this gorgeous machine sitting there looking absolutely amazing, it makes your heart go. It's like every time you see it, you have to stop, look at it, maybe sigh inwardly. That is how good it feels. And you know what you're riding when you're sitting on it. You feel like a classic racer. It's got the soundtrack of a classic racer, that wonderful triple sound. It truly does give you a classic racer feel. It's got a classic racer sort of position. It's got a sort of classic racer look to it. But here's the little secret. It's not a classic racer. It's got all the modern things you could ever want. It's got a brilliant modern engine. It's got brilliant modern electronics, modern chassis, modern brakes, the best of everything. So you're riding what makes you feel. You've got the romanticizing of a classic racer without any of the sort of problems like it breaking down a lot and not working properly and being a bit difficult to ride. It's got none of those things. This thing does everything greatly, everything wonderfully, but it makes you feel special while you're doing it. You feel so good. Although my neck is getting a bit sore, but I feel good. I feel very good.
And so here we have it, a tribute to motorcycles like the Speed Triple 1200 RR. Bikes that are not perfect, that have their little eccentricities, traits that perhaps understandably put many people off parting their money for them, and instead going for something a little more pragmatic. And this is also a tribute to those riders that find the joy that these motorcycles bring, the pure motorcycling joy, eclipses any downfalls that may accompany them. They deserve the nods from other motorcyclists that they are so respectfully given.
Welcome back. Now, before the break, Don was riding Triumph's Speed Triple RR and ruminating on the desirability of beautiful bikes that aren't really very practical. I'm sure, like me, you understood exactly what he was trying to get at. Over the years, I have myself lusted after and even owned, despite my predilection for a mixture of performance and practicality, like the Yamaha MT-09 that I currently ride, I've had a series of bikes that really didn't make much sense, given what I needed them for. When I first started working after studying, I needed a comfortable, affordable, reliable, easy to ride second-hand commuter, and despite my best intentions, I ended up buying a brand new Suzuki GSX-R 750 that was uncomfortable to the point of being painful after a quarter of an hour of riding. Not good when your commute is an hour each way, but I love that bike. I'm sure many of you have been through similar things and probably will continue to do so into the future. In the interest of expanding on this illogical relationship that we have with our bikes, I'm going to assume that you and I have won the lottery or got ourselves much better paying jobs and point you in the direction of some niche manufacturers who can fulfill these desires we have for something that more than makes up for any lack of practicality, with a level of desirability and rarity that will make you love your bike like it's your own flesh and blood. Bimotor, celebrating 50 years of history this year in fact. Some incredible creations in that time, as well as several typically Italian episodes of near bankruptcy. The company is basically now owned by Kawasaki. That means, for the moment at least, your Bimotor will inevitably only be built around a mean green engine. But they make great engines, so it's not a hardship. Take for instance the supercharged H2 powered Taser, or perhaps in your garage you might put it alongside the more easily tamed yet equally unique KB4, complemented by their new dirt bike for some muddy weekend action. These bikes are all unnecessarily loaded down with beautiful frills of motorcycle engineering, but necessity has nothing to do with desirability, so having a Bimotor or three in your garage should be a definite lottery winning fantasy. As should the legendary English, yet actually these days French marque, Brough Superior. I've been to their factory near Toulouse in southwestern France, and the passion, innovation and the engineering excellence that runs through the veins of everybody who works there is clear for all to see. The only thing that is practical about owning one of these wonderful machines is the possibility that it might actually appreciate in value. But since you've got enough money to buy one in the first place, you don't need to worry about such trifles, do you? Ride it, enjoy it, get it dirty, make a noise, and boy, some of them really do make something of the noise, and revel in the crowd that gathers wherever you happen to arrive. If, though, you want an authentic British-built piece of motorcycling, then perhaps consider CCM. They're handcrafted British street and scrambler models built around a characterful 600cc single-cylinder engine with such evocative aeronautical names as Spitfire and Maverick. Not fast, not particularly practical, and eye-wateringly expensive in terms of price to performance ratio, but so desirable that none of that matters in any way. If, however, none of these pint-sized manufacturers can satiate your desire for something different, then perhaps you might like to take a look at the work of some of the specialist builders we featured on the bike show. Bark in Lyon, France do some great things with a number of different donor bikes, but if I wanted something that had rarity and genuine hand-built excellence with a healthy dose of performance and a dash of mad engineering genius and the bonus of a big old V-twin, I would look no further than the backcountry of Bavaria and the work of a modest man by the name of Stefan Bronolt. Radical Guzzi create masterpieces out of Moto Guzzi donor bikes, and their performance is as striking as their looks. When my lottery win comes, Stefan will be the bike builder who gets my cash. If you want more info on these wonderful artisans of the motorcycling world, then check out, please, our YouTube channel, where we regularly celebrate the illogical, irrational, impractical desirability of life on two wheels.